Okay, here's what I'm gonna do. I am gonna write down his list and talk a little bit more about it. About my thoughts on it overall. Grizzly, number 8 was Child. Number 7 was Giant. Number 6 was Raiden. Number 5 was Hu Tao. Number 4 was Nilo. Number 3 was Arlecchino. Number 2 was Al-Hytham. And number 1 was Nebula. This was TGS's list. Okay, let's talk about the things that if it were me, I would probably end up changing. Okay, so actually, first let's talk about the stuff that I would not change. 100%. Yep. I think Al-Hytham and Arlecchino, there's not really... I don't really feel strongly about either of them being above the other. I think Arlecchino's ability to scale with... specifically with Jadewing Spear, which is not a free-to-play weapon, but it is a free-to-play available weapon. It's the sort of stuff where, like, you have a decent chance to get it at some point if you're free-to-play. It would be a fair argument for her being better, but it's not really within the constraints that TGS has stated. And I don't think it matters that much. And I think it would honestly be completely fair to have this still. And then Nilo as number 4, I think is also completely fair. I think my disagreements probably start after that. The main thing... Well, I don't know. Maybe Hu Tao would stay 5. I think that's fair, honestly. Then Raiden being here... It depends on how you define DPS, right? I think people to this day heavily underestimate her value in Hyperbloom. But it's kind of hard for me to call a character where you swap to them literally once per rotation, do a skill, don't even use their burst, and then swap out a DPS. You know? It just feels wrong. But like, that's also Nilo. Yeah, but at least Nilo specifically says, hey, buff this reaction in this way, right? Raiden doesn't. Like, if we're not accounting for Raiden's strength and Hyperbloom in this list, then we would have to remove Nilo altogether. But I think it's completely fair to have Nilo here. Because I think, like, when it comes to people wondering what's the best DPS they can have, they generally don't mean, like, specifically, hey, I want this character to be on field X% of the time. They mean, I want a character to build my team around that is a good character, right? And, like, mentioning Nilo, even though she's not really a traditional DPS character, helps make the point that she is a good character to build your team around in that way. Sure. Fuck it. I definitely disagree with this. Actually, you know what? I think I'll put Raiden... Actually, I think I'll put Hu Tao down 1 as well. And I'll put Navia at number 5. Navia needs more investment. Does she? I don't know. Maybe Hu Tao could be above. Yeah, I guess. Okay, you know what? I think Dragon's Bane puts Hu Tao above Navia. I think that's fair. Just because Dragon's Bane is such a strong weapon for, like, 4-star non-battle pass weapon, and Navia is not as... or Navia doesn't have as good 4-star options. But yeah, I think there's something to be said about Navia practically performing better for people that aren't willing to learn Hu Tao's combos, or just aren't good at them, or play on mobile. Which, like, listen, okay? The fucking Samsung event has made me realize the value that certain characters can have on mobile. And more importantly, the ways in which certain characters feel like ass on mobile. And I understand why Hu Tao feels like ass on mobile now. I really do. Like, the buttons just are not in good positions to do jump cancels comfortably. Like, what the fuck do you mean I have to have my whole ass hand on the screen? Like, no, that's dumb, that's stupid, I hate it. Okay? That's why people said Yoimiya was better back then. I mean, that's still wrong, because I would not play Yoimiya over Hu Tao without cancels. Like, Hu Tao without cancels is better than Yoimiya. But yeah, like, I think that all of the characters outside of Hu Tao that are above here, right, like the first 4 characters, I don't think they're characters that feel that, like, particularly asked to play on mobile. Hu Tao, I would say, does. Out of all of these characters, Hu Tao is probably the one that feels the most ass on mobile. Maybe if you have high ping, which some phones just do, because, I don't know, sometimes Wi-Fi or whatever, like, then maybe Nilo, because it's a team, or it's Nilo teams, you generally have to swap a lot more, so, like, maybe, but, like, same for Child, I guess, to some extent. And if you start getting to multi-rotation Child, where you have to do a charge shot sometimes, then that can also be a little bit of a pain in the ass. Ease of use is a huge factor, IMO. Yeah, I think, though, it's important to mention how sometimes a combo can be very easy to do, even if you suck ass on mouse and keyboard or controller, but feel like shit to do on mobile. Just because all the buttons are on your screen, and they're on your screen in weird-ass positions, right? And, like, that's something I didn't really account for too much before the Samsung event, but I think it's actually worth... I think it's actually worth taking into consideration for something like this. And I think that might be enough to put Navia above Hu Tao. I don't know. I think they're interchangeable. And then there's also the fact that if you're not holding your phone like this, right? Or pretty much the only buttons pretty much the only fingers you can use for your, to control things are your thumbs. If you're holding it like this, for example, like your phone, it's a lot easier for your phone to fall, which, if you play outside of just in your house, might just not be something you want to do at all, right? So, yeah. And not having controller support sucks so much, yeah. Like, when I tried it with the Razer, the controller that Razer sent me, which is now dusty as fuck, because my phone doesn't have enough storage space to download Genshin. But, like, I tried it with a controller, and you could map your buttons to specific places on your screen, and it wasn't that bad, for sure. But, like, it does suck that there's no actual dedicated controller support. Anyways. Next up, remove Child. Oh yeah, that's happening. I'm just wondering who I'm putting in instead of Child. Maybe Yai? Remove Risley? No, I don't think so. Okay. I mean, I'll already do... I guess it's Yai, yeah. Lenny? I think, okay, the main thing about Lenny is... we have to keep in mind, right, this game is a DPS check, which means that if you have to dodge an enemy in a way that makes you lose DPS, it's not a factor that you can get better at, right? You can't just get better at not getting hit by an attack while you would need to be charging a shot. You have to dodge it, and that guarantees that you lose damage. And because of that, there's a lot of situations where Lenny, you literally just can't get the DPS that you would want to be able to, that you should be able to if it was all related to skill. If instead of a 2-ish second charge, it's not 2 seconds, but whatever, right? I'm just gonna say 2 because it's a round number. If it was a 2-second charge time, like instead of charging for 2 seconds and then firing a shot, if it was an instant shot with a 2-second cooldown, he'd be so much better. But it's not. And you have to deal with that. And it makes it so that in practice against a lot of enemies, Lenny just isn't that good. And it's something that can be fixed with high investment, because with high enough investment, you reach the point where you one-rotate the enemy before they really get to attack you. Can you get hit during E animations? Yes. That being said, it is a movement ability where you can control which direction you go. Which means that against most enemies, using your E while keeping in mind where you want to go and inputting the right direction will not make you get hit. You don't have to dodge. Most incoming attacks, you can dodge with your E rather than dashing and then using E. It still feels clunky because the animation is long and you have to do it 3 times. But it's not like Linny. On top of that, she does the relevant part of that skill immediately when you press the button, not at the end of the animation. So if you get cancelled out of it, you still got the totem, right? If you get cancelled out of a charge shot on Linny, goodbye charge shot. If we include Raiden's Hyper Moon teams, can we include Kokomi's Nilo teams as well? Yes, but under Nilo, not under Kokomi. But yeah, I feel pretty confident in my top 6. With like a lot of these characters, it's reasonable to put them 1 up or 1 down, other than Neuvillette. But like, I'll hide them in Arlecchino, and maybe even to some extent Nilo. I think you can pretty much all make a fair argument for them being number 2 to number 4. I think Navia and Hu Tao, I think you can make a reasonable argument either way. Because of Navia's relative lack of great weapon options versus Hu Tao's higher difficulty and just fucking clunk on mobile. And honestly, depending on how much you value each thing, I think you can make a fair argument for any of these characters in any order. Hell, you can make an argument for Linny in here if you know you have incredibly good artifacts, right? Or you can reach that level of investment that's necessary, even though you're on a 4-star weapon. Or you're willing to reset a lot until enemy attack patterns line up with Linny attacks very well, right? Like, there's a lot of subjectivity in this, for sure. Yeah, and then if we were to include 4 stars, I mean, Shenling would be in, Fischl would be in, probably as numbers 2 and 3. Sucrose, I don't think most people would consider Sucrose to be a DPS. Same for Xingqiu, right? I think Xingqiu's the best unit in the game, but I would not include him in a ranking like this. I think you should include Bennett, though. That's fair. I think Bennett, like, as a DPS, would be towards the bottom of this list, but he would be in it. Kuki, yeah. Kuki would be in as well. So how many is it? That's 4? We ditch these 4 and add in the 4 we've mentioned. That would probably be it. Sethos has the same issue as Linny to me. Gaming, no. Gaming has a similar issue to Child, I guess, to me. Which is like the way that multi-wave and stuff like that can just completely fuck him over and make him feel awful. Hazel, no. For the same reason I wouldn't include Sucrose. I just don't think Hazel does enough damage in his teams in his good teams. Like, obviously he does decent damage in like the Hazel, Farazan, Xiangling team, but like, and also Xiangling. So yeah, I don't know. D6 Noelle. I don't know if I'd include Noelle. Maybe, honestly. I think you can make an argument for it. Yelan, I wouldn't include Yelan for the same reason I wouldn't include Xingqiu. What level of investment is this supposed to be at? I'd probably have Xiao on the list. This is with TGS's stated criteria of like punishing or giving units a penalty if they're reliant on a niche or on a C6 4-star character or a niche 5-star support. So with these criteria, I don't think Xiao really makes it up there. And at the end of the day, right? Like, I can work within criteria like that because it's not a what are the best units or what are the most valuable units. It's a very specific, like, what are the best DPS 5-star characters. I hope no one is getting from this discussion the conclusion that if you don't have any of these units, you should put for Neuvillette. If you have Neuvillette and no one else, you should pull for Alhaitham. If you have Neuvillette and Alhaitham and no one else, you should put for, and like, etc., right? I hope that's not the conclusion that anyone is getting. Shouldn't a tier list have characters at their max potential and all at the same level of investment? All at the same level of investment, yes. At their max potential, I mean, you can make a tier list based on characters at their max potential. You can also not. It depends on what you want to make a tier list for. A max potential tier list is just as valid as a medium investment tier list or a low investment tier list. Because people are at different levels of investment, and a character being good at high investment doesn't matter if I'm not at high investment. A character being good with 5-star weapons doesn't matter if I don't pull for 5-star weapons, right? Like, but yeah. You just have to make sure that your criteria are explicitly stated. Well, this is an interesting discussion, though. Like, do one for their premium teams. Yeah. I can do it very quickly. I'm not going to put too much thought into it, though. I mean, are we including 5-star weapons? If we're including 5-star weapons, maybe Nilo's higher. I don't know, man. I'm not including 5-star weapons. I don't know, man. It's like, I hate it. C1R1 with best supports. Yeah, but that's not necessarily fair, right? Like, it's a lot easier to get the best team for a character if all of their supports are 4 stars, and it takes you a similar amount of wishes to get C1R1 on that character as to get C0R0 on another. But also, you can't just say the same amount of wishes, because a lot of people just already start with, okay, well, I kind of want to start my account by getting Kazuha, getting Nahida, getting Farina, getting, like, all of these support characters, and then they go for the carries that they want. So you also can't really just make it, like, based on the amount of 5 stars. There's no good way to do it, which is why I hate it. Like, free-to-play is relatively easy to define, right? You can be like, yeah, no, nothing paid, no battle pass, and, like, if the character is a niche support like Xiaonyun, you get a penalty, but if it's not a niche support like Farina, you don't. And if it's the same thing for the, like, the 4 stars, if they need C6, character like Farazan would be a penalty, a character that gets better with cons but doesn't need them necessarily, like Shangling in an Arlecchino team, for example, not as much, right? Like, that's relatively easy to define. And similarly, Leviathan is very easy to define, you just have everything. But anything in the middle, people with different wants for their accounts will get different things, which makes it a lot harder to make something that applies to any well-defined group of people, right? Even people that generally want the same thing overall can make different decisions in order to reach that. Okay, I want a Dolphin-level Nilo team. I have Nilo, Nahida, and all the 4 stars, whatever. What do I do now? Some people will go for the... Oh, there's Kaveh on Nilo's banner, and I like Kaveh. Okay, I'll go for C1 Nilo. Wow, this key banner has fucking Donut as the other weapon, and all full 4 stars. Well, I don't want to get that. Oh, this key banner is with fucking I don't know, Aqua Simulacra, and has fucking literally all favs. Oh, well, that's pretty good. Oops, all favs. Right, like, again, right, people with similar goals can end up getting different upgrades to their account. Hey, I mean, if you have the primos to get Nilo's signature now, or to get Nilo's C1 or even C2 now, and you go for it, and then they announce a Nahida rerun next patch, you're going to be like, oh, well, the choice has been made for me. I already got the Nilo stuff. I can't get the Nahida stuff anymore, right? So again, right, it's very, very difficult to have a specific set of criteria that's going to properly apply any given group. But yeah, 5-only banner would be insane. Hey, I mean, listen, I'm telling you right now, if they make a 5-only banner, even if the weapons on it are Sijuin's bow and Baiju's donut, I will go for it until I have 5 swords. Okay? I will.